Hey, my beautiful people. Welcome back to SoulSync. It's Dovey here, and today we're diving into a topic that every girl can relate to, the ick. You know that moment when you're kinda into a guy, but then he does something so cringy, so weird, so unattractive that you just can't look at him the same way anymore? That's the ick. And once it happens, there's no going back. The worst part? Oh, sometimes the guy has no idea why things suddenly feel different. That's because the ick isn't always logical. It's just a gut feeling that makes you lose attraction instantly. So let's get into it. 7 things that instantly give girls the ick. 1. Baby talk or trying too hard to sound cute. There's nothing wrong with a guy being soft and affectionate, but when he starts using a baby voice, whining, or trying too hard to be adorable, it's over. Most girls love a guy who can be playful, but there's a fine line between flirty charm and full-on cringe. If he suddenly switches to a high-pitched, exaggerated voice while talking, it doesn't feel natural, it feels forced. It gives off the vibe that he's trying too hard to be something he's not. Instead of making him seem more attractive, it just makes the entire interaction awkward. A guy doesn't need to act like a cartoon character to be cute. Just be yourself. Being rude to service workers. This is an instant deal breaker for most girls. If a guy is rude to waiters, cashiers, Uber drivers, or anyone working in customer service, it's a major red flag. It's not just about that one moment, it reveals his real personality. If he's disrespectful to people who are just doing their job, how will he treat you when things don't go his way? A guy who lacks basic kindness and patience is not someone you want to be with long term. Girls notice these little interactions, and once they see a guy acting entitled, snapping his fingers at a server, or rolling his eyes when his food takes too long, the ick sets in immediately. Being kind costs nothing, but being rude can cost you a potential relationship. 3. Running weirdly, or looking lost while running. Okay, this one might seem unfair, but sometimes the way a guy moves can be hard to unsee. It's not about being an athlete, but if a guy runs awkwardly, flails his arms, or looks lost mid-sprint, it can be an instant turnoff. It's one of those irrational icks where a girl might not even know why it bothers her so much. It just does. The worst part? Once the ick sets in, even the way he walks can start to look weird. It's not something a guy can really control, but that's the cruel reality of attraction. Some things you just can't unsee. 4. Dirty fingernails or bad hygiene. You don't need to have a full skincare routine or smell like an expensive cologne brand, but basic hygiene is a must. If a guy has dirt under his fingernails, bad breath, greasy hair, or wears the same unwashed clothes repeatedly, it's impossible to ignore. Hygiene is one of those things that people might not notice when it's done right, but when it's bad, it's all they can think about. Girls pay attention to small details, and things like chewed up nails, chapped lips, or a musty smell can be an instant turnoff. Looking good isn't about expensive products, it's about cleanliness and effort. 5. Oversharing way too soon. Being emotionally open is great, but there's a difference between deep conversations and dumping your entire life story in the first hour. If a guy starts talking about his childhood trauma, ex-drama, or personal struggles way too soon, it doesn't build connection, it builds discomfort. It's overwhelming, and instead of making a girl feel closer to him, it makes her feel like his therapist. Emotional intimacy should develop naturally, not be forced. If a guy rushes into heavy topics too quickly, it feels like he's trying to create a bond artificially. There's a time and place for vulnerability, but if it's too much too soon, it can create emotional exhaustion instead of attraction. 6. Showing off but failing miserably. Confidence is attractive, but trying too hard to impress can backfire badly. Imagine a guy brags about how strong he is, but then he struggles to open a water bottle. Or he talks about being an expert at a game, only to immediately lose in front of everyone. It's not just the failure itself, it's the cringe of seeing someone's ego collapse in real time. A little humility goes a long way. Girls love confidence, but forced flexing just makes it awkward. A guy doesn't need to prove himself every second. Let your personality do the work, not over-the-top stunts. 7. Being obsessive over social media and filters. Girls don't mind a guy who takes care of himself, but if he's constantly refreshing his likes, posting too many selfies, or using beauty filters, it's a turnoff. Social media should be fun, not an obsession. If a guy spends more time fixing his selfies than having actual conversations, it makes him seem insecure instead of confident. Filters, especially the exaggerated ones, can make things even worse. If a guy uses the puppy filter unironically, it's hard to take him seriously. It's not about avoiding social media altogether, but there's something so much more attractive about a guy who is present in the moment rather than glued to his phone. The ick isn't always logical, but once it happens, there's no coming back from it. These small habits, behaviors, and mannerisms might seem minor, but they can completely change how a girl sees someone. So guys, take notes. And girls, what's your biggest ick? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to SoulSync. See you in the next one.